Hello, White Sox fans, and welcome to another edition of the FutureSox podcast. My name is Ian Eskridge. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, James Fox. Tonight, we have a special guest, as this is a special edition of the FutureSox podcast. We have Chris Lanuti from Sox in the Basement, and along with a load of other podcasts and just in general, a podcast Jedi. How are you doing tonight, Chris?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling the force. No, I got my bourbon poured. I'm ready to go. I'm sitting at the bar. I do a ridiculous amount of podcasts right now. The one that takes up the most amount of time is I know you're not from Lamont, James, but I'm out
close
there.
though.
Yeah, you're close. I mean, and that's I drive 35 minutes to go out there and do a show with them right now, and that is a whole new world from where I'm from in Evergreen Park, but I'm enjoying it. So I do the Lamont Unlocked podcast, the EP podcast, Sox in the Basement, still the big one. And thank you for having me on.
Lamont downtown has lots of good restaurants.
They have so much going on down there. And I love it because the village is paying me to do that podcast. So I don't have to get any advertisers. So and then they go, hey, go to this really fancy Italian restaurant and eat for free and then review it. I mean, I'm living the dream in Lamont right now. So, I mean, it is an awful lot of fun. And there's summer, they have so much going on. They got car shows and evening farmers markets and street concerts. It's ridiculous what they do in that. I mean, that town parties, I think, 7 days a week.
I think it's Nick's that has the 1 pound burgers. I think.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm going there. I'm going there in a week or two. I already have. I just talked to the guy yesterday. He's one of the next ones that I'm reviewing, and he's like, "We're gonna have the burger. We're gonna hang out." And I'm like, "Sounds great."
You're gonna have the burger. You're gonna have the burger and do nothing. Yeah. That's what you're gonna do.
I do. Exactly. I do one of the concerts that's down there every year. So we all have something in Lamont.
Oh, yeah. It's great. And you know what I look forward to every year is the Oktoberfest. I don't know if you've done Pollyanna Oktoberfest, but man, that thing is a blast. And the funniest thing is I did one feature on them years ago for Southside Pod, and they have invited me every year and given me a tent, like center stage, just to hang out. And all I do is just show up, and I got the little Sox in the Basement banners and the other podcast banners, and I wave and I give out a couple of prizes, and I get a free day at the Pollyanna Oktoberfest. I absolutely love that place.
Do you think Brooks Boyer gets mad when you hand out hats in downtown Lamont?
Brooks here's a funny thing. Like, Brooks won't come on the show. I've asked him. He won't come on the show for obvious reasons, because I'm a little critical of the team. Okay. And he's even said it. He's laughed when I've asked him. He's actually laughed out loud and been like, yeah, I can't come on your show, Chris. And I'm like, that's fine. But he seems like we've had conversations, me and him, in the past. It's been a little while. We've had conversations. I think he understands what I'm doing. I understand what he's doing. There's no bad blood there or anything else like that. But I get it. If you're going to sit around and talk about how Jerry Reinsdorf's cheap and he's a poor owner, like, I don't even say he's unlucky. I think he's a bad baseball owner. Like, he's just bad at running a baseball team. He just had to go through this ridiculous setup to sell his team where he's pigeonholed himself into one guy. And yes, it's basically just setting up the end of your life, right? Like, if I die at any point during this, we know who's taking the team. We know who's getting the money. This is an estate plan. But it also got new money into the team because he didn't have enough money. He needed more money to operate the team. How do you own a team for 40 years and you're broke? So you can't argue that he's a poor owner. They don't like that I say that.
Well, he's great to work for. So that's
That's the thing. Everybody got a ring in 05. Everybody got a ring in 05. I know a guy who worked at the Cook County 911 Center, and he was a 911 dispatcher, and his whole job is to sit over there. I don't know if he's there anymore. His whole job is just sit over there and tell security where to go. And he got a ring. He used to wear it all the time to work. Everybody got a ring. So he's great to work for. That's the thing.
Well, I don't want to have to bring it up, but I guess we have to bring up this year's White Sox. Do you have thoughts on this year's team?
We just talked about it on the show. At the beginning of the year, I couldn't find any ball players on this team. Like, I was like, who's an actual baseball player on this team? Like, Andrew Benintendi's a professional baseball player. He's a competent baseball player. He has bad seasons. He has good seasons. He has average seasons. That's what he is. That $15 million a year is what you pay a guy like that. That, everybody else thinks that, like, oh, God, we really paid a lot for him where he's not a superstar. That's what most teams pay for a guy of his caliber. And Luis Robert Jr., would be a baseball player if he wasn't always hurt. And now I don't know what he. I went into the season, I had a really hard time finding baseball players. Well, Chase Meidroth is a ball player. We were talking about that on the show. I mean, that's a real baseball player. His arrow points up. He knows how to play defense. He obviously knows how to slide. Like he knows what he's doing out there. He's a baseball player. Kyle Teal is a ball player. Like that's a guy that you could see on your team for years to come who's going to be a positive impact. Even Edgar Caro. I mean, you might look at what his raw numbers are in his rookie season so far, but you watch how he carries himself. Ball player. So they found a few guys that are actual baseball players. Now, the problem is that's not enough, but that's what I take from the season. I also take from the fact that in the last 2 series before this Dodgers series, or out of the last 3 series before this Dodgers series, they won 2 of them. And I kind of made the challenge on the last show of, okay, look at what you got for the rest of the All-Star break besides the Dodgers series. You should be able to win the next couple series. You should be able to beat the Blue Jays with a crowd out there and some of these young guys and 4 games against Cleveland and everybody showing up for everything on reunion weekend for 05. You should win 3 out of 4. Like, let's go out and play ball. That's what I'm looking for. So I'm trying to find the little things in the middle of a team that, has a terrible payroll and is nowhere close to competing for a playoff spot.
So what are you looking forward to? Because like me and Ian, I mean, obviously, like we do a podcast every week, and we don't always talk about the big league team. We talk about prospects a lot, and I have the draft coming, which will consume my time before a trip to Pittsburgh, right, Chris? But somebody like you who's hyper focused on the big league team, what are you looking forward to? What would you like to see?
I want to see. I'm seeing some of the stuff I want to see. I think Will Venable puts together a pretty good lineup generally. I think he's deploying his players in the right way. I think that Chris Getz has been heartless at times with guys that he even acquired. Like there are guys he acquired that he could very easily say, well, I'm going to stick with this guy longer because I don't want to look stupid. And he's let them go. He's sent them to the minors. He's waived them. He's DFA'd them. He's traded them away. He has no problem saying this didn't work out. So those are things that I'm already seeing. What I want to see is I want to see a continuation of watching the young guys be featured, and I want to see progress. I think that like right now, I think you would project them out if they just continue this pace at falling a little short of not losing 100 games. I think that they would end up at like 102 losses or something like that. What I want to see is them not lose 100 games. I want to see a second half that shows the young guys are adjusting to major league pitching, that some of the younger pitchers are starting to figure out what they're doing, and I see progress. If you get some progress and you do better than what you're currently on pace to do, that's what I want to see, because that shows me that you're putting it together with the right guys and you're at least starting to find a core to your team, and you're seeing improvement. I love it when I see a pitcher that, I don't know, that didn't seem like he had very much start pitching well. Like, what did Brian Bannister do to Adrian Hauser? That's not what he's supposed to be. Is that what he's supposed to be? Like, I know he's not part of the long-term plan, but what did they tell him that made him good all of a sudden? Because he's a guy that had a lot of promise, never became anything, and now all of a sudden he just shows up and he's lights out. I love seeing that stuff because it gives me faith that the guys that they brought in, either Bannister or Fuller with the hitting, the guys they brought in are having an impact on player development, which is something I never saw underneath Williams and Hahn.
Something that me and Ian have talked about a lot. I know you guys kind of touched on it. So when I guest hosted your show a couple weeks ago, me and Ed talked about this, like I think right when it happened, but Grant Taylor, right?
Oh, I love Grant Taylor.
Right. So super exciting, right? But for people, so me and Ian have followed Grant Taylor, and he projects as like a top of the rotation starter potentially, right? Like at his peak, but he's been hurt and he's at an innings limit. And, like they've kind of made the decision to do this bullpen thing right now. And they're not ruling out starting, but like, if he's the best closer in the American League, he's probably not starting, right? So just obviously we watch a game on a Tuesday. Ooh, Grant Taylor's coming in. This is super fun. But what do you think about just like this plan, this pivot, like what they're doing with him?
I like it. And the reason I like it is maybe the White Sox fan perspective. Chris Sale came out of the bullpen. Garrett Crochet pitched out of the bullpen. Him coming in now, Grant Taylor, and being effective in closing all that does is give him big league experience and high pressure experience. There's nothing that says that later on they couldn't start to convert him into a starter like they did with Crochet. We didn't expect that, and then look what happened. Then again, if he becomes like one of the great closers that are out there in Major League Baseball, you found something that a lot of teams are giving away prospects for at the trade deadline when they're trying to go out and win something. I'll take anything that's positive on this team. I don't think that I don't think that it's already a foregone conclusion he's never going to be a starter. But if they want him to get up here and they want to give him a taste of the big leagues and they want to, they've got to build up guys that have confidence. You don't really have enough guys in the locker room like they're Major League Baseball players. Your best players are rookies. So if you can start building at least a few guys that have talent, that when the next group shows up, they've at least got a year or two of experience. You're giving Grant Taylor that experience. You're giving him the experience of what it's like to go up against major league hitters. And then you're going to figure out, okay, do we think we can stretch him out and make him a starter at some point? Or did we just find one of the most effective closers in Major League Baseball? And either way is a good thing to me. I don't think that he's closed off from being a starter. Not at all. Because after watching what Sale starting in the bullpen and watching what happened with Crochet, you can't say that. So it doesn't bother me. I'm excited for what the kid's doing right now.
It seems to me that the draft strategy and the guys that they seem to be picking up, have success in where they're coming from. You see they drafted a bunch of guys from Ole Miss. They drafted guys from LSU. In Grant Taylor, and all these programs are just top flight programs, and I think that they're kind of shedding some of the guys that they had previously that there was questions about their work ethic, and that was obviously a problem. So I think that that goes a long way with the changing of the culture in the White Sox clubhouse, which has been a problem for several years.
I mean, it seems like they have an idea of the type of player that they want, right? I mean, they want guys. First of all, at the plate, they want guys to get on base. Like that's. If you're swinging at bad pitches, if you're striking out 3 times every time that you walk, you don't last very long on this team. And they seem to want guys that have just a little bit of attitude and are baseball smart. I mean, Chase Beindroth's a smart player. You can't watch what he did with that silly slide. I mean, I know it's just one slide, but like the other day when he does that thing and he comes in and he comes up short, and he knows exactly what he's doing because he's dead to rights on the stolen base, and he gets the second, and then he immediately laughs at the umpire and points. Like, that's a guy who has the confidence out on the field to know not only am I going to do this to another player at a major league level, but then I'm going to immediately laugh at the umpire because I know I'm right. Like, we need guys like that because we haven't seen a lot of that on this team. And, you could say, oh, that's everywhere. No, it's not. There's an awful lot of rookies, and we've seen a lot of them, guys that come up here, and it's just too big for them when they make it to the major leagues. And the latest group they brought in, especially this group that they've gotten from Boston, I mean, so far with Meidroth and Teal, these guys are not afraid to go out there and play Major League Baseball. And that's great to see from the young guys who are going to be around for a while.
So, one more thing before we get into the 2005 stuff. So, I heard you talk about it a little bit, but you went on vacation, Chris, God forbid. And then they traded Andrew Vaughn on you while you were
I was in Germany.
While you were on vacation. And I know you feel, this is one thing that our shows have in common. Yeah. Me and Ian didn't understand, even tendering Andrew Vaughn for that amount of money. You railed against the same thing. Look, I don't know what Aaron Savali is at this point, like whether he's just going to soak up innings and help you, not drain your young pitching, or whether you can get something for him, whatever. How surprised were you that they got anything by using Andrew Vaughn as the trade return?
Well, first of all, I was in Germany when the trade happened. Ed texted me. I was asleep because of the time change. And the next night I was in some bar telling the two German bartender, the two Fräuleins behind the bar, all about who Andrew Vaughn was and why this was a great move. And they were asking me, does everybody in America carry a gun and just shoot each other when they're angry? That was how the conversations were going. But that's how all the foreigners think we are. I went to Australia, got asked the same question. Do you have a gun? Like they just think it's the Wild West over here. So And I was explaining to her why this was a good deal, and she didn't know. She just thought I had blue eyes and she liked me. But I was explaining to her Andrew Vaughn is a player that was so spent that it had so many at bats at the major leagues, who had 5 years under his belt of being nothing more than a replacement level player, and was having his worst season, I think, on his baseball card, and was sent to AAA. The idea that somebody would trade you an actual major league pitcher for Andrew Vaughn, that's amazing to me. It feels like a fleecing because I didn't think they should have even brought him in. You and I talked about it in the offseason. I don't know why they're giving him this arbitration. I don't know why they're going to pay him when he's going to come in. What was it, like $6 million? Like, what? You could find a guy that does what he does for less. Like, what are you doing here? And to be able to get Savale, you have a better chance of getting a good return from an Aaron Savale if he has a couple of good starts in July than you are going to get trying to flip Andrew Vaughn at the deadline when he was already in AAA and he wasn't doing enough to get majors. So to me, Vaughn wasn't coming back next year. Savale doesn't need to come back next year, but you have a better chance of flipping Savale for a better prospect than you were going to get for Vaughn. So I don't know how it's a bad trade. I love the deal.
He didn't look good in AAA at all.
No, everybody does good in AAA.
Well, apparently he's doing okay now for Nashville, but like he was never coming back up. Like he was out of their plans. He was done. Like that was, they got something useful for something useless, quite frankly, because he was, regardless of what, even if we liked him, right? The honest truth is like they were done with Andrew Vaughn. Like he was going to be out of here.
If you want to have fun as a White Sox fan and just kind of get a grasp of what the difference is between hitting in the bandbox in Charlotte in AAA and coming to the major leagues, just look up Charlotte Knights stats, sort by OPS, and look at the names up at the top this season for the Charlotte Knights, and look at the players that got here to the major leagues and couldn't do anything close to that, who are not on the team anymore, who they won't even consider like Corey Julks. Like they're like, yeah, I don't care. I don't care if you have an 1100 OPS. You're not getting up here. We've seen what you are. Like it's such a difference, and he couldn't do that down there in AAA, and they were able to trade him for Aaron Savale. That's amazing to me.
To be fair, he is 10 for 48 on Nashville. So he's not really doing a whole lot there.
Not good. That's not good. My quick math says he's hitting below 250. That's what that tells me.
230 something. James, do you want to move on to the 2005 stuff here?
Yes. Yeah, we can start talking about an actual good team. So full disclosure here. I was, I think, a freshman in college going to Joliet Junior College at the time. It might have been my second year because 2005. I was, I turned 20 in September. So yeah, right around there, whatever. I was like 20 years old. So, I remember this vividly, but I didn't get to do all the fun stuff that everybody, else got to do. So, Chris, what do you think, first of all, of just, we're 20 years removed from this. These are the only 3 playoff series, by the way, that they've won with Jerry Reinsdorf as owner, just to throw that out there. They have 3 playoff series victories in 40 years, and they're all the same year. But, it's good they're going to honor this team. What do you think about, I guess, what they have planned that they have planned for this 2005 reunion?
Well, first of all, you got to honor this team because it's the only good thing that there is in the entire Jerry Reinsdorf tenure. And secondly, your team isn't very good, so they were going to lean into this heavily. They really were. I mean, they had nothing else for better at the ballpark wasn't going to work another year. So they had to come up with something. I saw the list of the guys that are showing up, and it's amazing how many guys are coming back, and that's great. I also saw that thing where you can get the $125 and you go to the patio party and you get to hang out and get autographs with players. And we talked about it on the show, and I was like, oh, this looks awesome. There's 8 guys there until I click through and realize you have to pick 2. And I was like, well, that kind of stinks. Like, why can't we just meet everybody that's out there? Why can't we? I don't know. I think they try to do the best they can. I'm not going to pick on the promotions department. They got to work with what's given to them. But I do like the fact they're honoring them. I do know that this is going to be a big weekend. I have spoken to many people who have not gone to a game this year or maybe gone to one game who are planning to go to multiple games over this weekend. This place is going to be packed and people are excited about it. It is the best memory of White Sox fandom for anybody that got to experience it. And what you mentioned with the idea that they've not won any other series under Jerry Reinsdorf. I always try to tell people, like, when they won Game 3 against Boston in the ALDS, that was shocking to me. Like, you were celebrating in the streets after that because they won that. Did we lose Ian? There he is.
I'm good.
You were celebrating in the streets. Like, that was the thing. You were so happy they won that series because they had not won a series since 1917 when they beat Boston. And then, I remember, a story that I want to tell real quick, because I know I don't think I've told this very much, and I don't know if you've heard it, James, because we were talking about stuff that I've said before on the show. When they went to go up against the Angels in the next round, I went to Game 1 of that series, and they lost. And Game 2, they win. And now you get to the series against the Angels, and they were always bad on the West Coast. And I used to travel from Evanston all the way south. I was doing marketing for some startup company. And I come back on the train, and I'm standing in Beverly at 103rd and Wood. And I'm waiting for the train to pull away because I have to wait for it to go by. And as I'm standing there, this old man standing next to me, and he goes, and I'm wearing a White Sox hat, and he goes, "What do you think they're going to do this weekend?" Because remember, that was a 3-game series that was over the weekend. And I was like, I don't know. I hope we just get one. I just want to get back home. Like, we do so bad on the road. And this old guy looks at me, and he goes, "We're going to win all 3 of them." And I'm looking at the train listening to him, and the train passes. I'm going to say something to him, and he's gone. Like, I can't find him. I just had this conversation, and he's gone. And I'm like looking around, like, where'd this guy go? Did he end up under the train? Like, I'm looking at the train, like, where'd he go? He was just talking to me. I never saw him again. I walked in my apartment, looked at my pregnant wife at the time, and said, "I met an angel, and the White Sox are winning the
Yeah.
They're going to the World
Right?
Series." Like, I was like, I met an angel.
Yeah.
He told me the White Sox are winning, and they won all 3 games. And
I was just at the train station and met shoeless Joe Jackson, I think. Like that, it's like, It's like,
he had no shoes. It was so
Yeah.
weird. It was always one of the weirder moments. There were so many weird moments throughout that entire thing.
Yeah.
I had so much fun during it.
Did
so
you
much
see?
fun.
Have either of you seen this like boat cruise thing that they're doing? So there's like 4 of these, like the city cruises at Navy Pier, where they have guys doing it, and I think it's Ozzy and AJ. So it's like Ozzy, AJ, and one other player, and you can pay to go on the boat. And it's actually, I don't think it's that expensive.
That I might do.
And there's
I
like
didn't know about that.
and there's like a few of them. I think one of them it might be AJ in all of them because he's like the MC. Yeah, and then it's somebody different. Ian, do you know more? Yeah, so like Creedy, I think, is on one of them, and then it might be like Dye or somebody doing the
Okay,
other.
so I want to go on the one with Creedy because I want to party with Joe Creedy. I mean, Joe Creedy looks like he parties. I mean, I remember I was at a Sox Fest one time. I'm sorry, Joe, if you ever see this and you hear this story. I was at a Sox Fest one time. It was during the 10-year anniversary, okay, the 2015 Sox Fest. And Creedy had a signature thing, and we were standing in line, my daughter and I, and they couldn't find Joe Creedy. Like, the thing started, they couldn't find Joe Creedy. And I want to say this is day 2 or day 3. So he's been at the fest now for a day or 2. And they couldn't find him. And I'm standing next to a guy with a walkie-talkie, and they're checking the rooms of other players because he's not in his room. And they find him in somebody else's room, right? He comes down the stairs. Joe Creedy has like a red mark down his face where he fell asleep on the carpet of the hotel room. Like, they were partying that night. They were going that night. So now he gets up there and he isn't speaking to anybody because that's how you feel after you've had a night like that. You don't want to talk to anybody. So it's just somebody hands him something, they sign. Somebody hands him something, they sign. There's actually somebody standing there saying, "Joe's not talking today because of the shape that he's in. He's not talking today." And everybody's like, okay. So now we get up there and my daughter, who's 9 years old at the time, goes, "Mr. Creedy, I play third base. I play third base in my league." And he looks up and he goes, "Are you any good at it?" And she goes, "Yeah, I'm an all-star." And he goes, "Why do you play third base?" And she goes, "My dad told me you were the best third baseman he ever saw play defense, and you should have won the MVP in the World Series. And that's why I play third base, because he showed me video of you." And he's like, "Really?" So he takes a picture with her. He refused every picture. He takes a picture with her, right? I go, "Hey, Joe, I'm the dad. Can I get a picture?" He goes, "No." He just goes right back to putting his head down and signing things. Yeah, I want to party with Joe. Joe looks like he's a lot of fun.
There's also like the thing on WhiteSox.com. The first episode's out with Kenny and talking about putting the team together. Ian? What do you remember about just you guys like as far as like them? Obviously, because look, the 2004 team I think was going to be really good, and then Mags got hurt, and just it kind of whatever, right? And then they made all the moves. What do you guys remember about them tearing down a little bit and putting this team together and how unorthodox it was?
The Carlos Lee trade, that one got me pretty bad because I was a big El Caballo guy at the time, and that one did not make me very happy. I mean, I understood what they were doing. I just didn't know if it would work because I mean, Pods was coming off if I remember correctly, the year before he got traded to the White Sox, he had a down year, but the year before that, he was spectacular. If I'm remembering this,
I want to say what they were trying to tell you was like his second half was good, but he had such a bad first half he looked bad, and I remember that was the selling point. Like that, I mean that's kind of flashing in my brain, but I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, like the speed, like I was stoked about having a table setter, but I like I was a big Carlos Lee guy from when he first came up. Like he was one of my guys for years, and I was not too thrilled about that. But I mean, hindsight, obviously it worked out. And I don't know if with Carlos Lee if it works out the same or not. But that was like my intro to the years when Carlos Lee got moved. I was like, oh man.
Well, I remember them losing Maglio and just being, and that was I've been railing on Jerry Reinsdorf since, but I was just out of high school. Like I wasn't like, oh my God, they never pay any, if I was doing this then, like, oh my God, like it would have been, what do you mean you let Maglio or Ordonez go, right? And it worked because you got Jermaine Dye instead, but yeah, like that's a huge makeover, Chris.
What I remember the most about that offseason was that I had gotten on a radio recently and I was working for my uncle in like River North, like doing security as I was trying to figure out where I wanted to work. Like I got a job right at the start of the season, the one that was up in Evanston, but I had like a 3-4 month period where I was just being employed by family as I was making this transition. And I would sit at this guard desk in this office building and I would open up the newspaper and they would actually list all the free agents and their stats. And I remember getting on the phone with my dad one time, and I was like, this is what I think we should do. And I did say, because I was really a big Bill James guy. Like, I loved reading that stuff before sabermetrics became a big deal. And I was like, Jermaine Dye, that's who you replace Maglio Ordonez with. And I wanted him to go get A.J. Przinsky. And I was like, we were coming up with, like guys that we wanted to get. And when they signed A.J. and they signed Dye, I was really proud of it. And he was making fun of me. He's like, yeah, they're the best fourth place team in the league. Like he was like, there's no way they're going to win anything. And I was like, I get it. But like, if they're not going to keep Ordonez, if they're going to make this trade and they're going to go with a guy in Pasetnik who's faster, like this is how I would want to do things because I'm just trying as a positive young White Sox fan. I think I was, 05. So I'm about 28 at the time. And I'm just trying to be as positive as I possibly can. And so I did like that they went and at least got the guys that I thought were big signings. Like I wanted Przinsky. Like I was so tired of watching the Twins get the best of us. And he was one of the guys that got the best of us because he really knew how to play the game and he was annoying. And now all of a sudden we had the annoying pest on our team. And remember he was coming off that thing with the Giants where he had punched one of the pitchers in the balls. Like that was something he did. Like
it was Brett Tomko, I think.
Yeah, or something. Somebody said, "Did it hurt?" And he punched the guy in the balls. He goes, "Will you tell me?" Like he was like, and that was like a big story at the time. And I was like, "I love this guy. Like we need something on his team because we were the most wishy-washy team. We were coming off of Jerry Manuel falling asleep in the dugout before he gets fired." And you didn't know what this team was. And Ozzie got that first year, and I started to feel good about this team when they did something that was unorthodox. They went out and got Freddie Garcia, and then they signed him. And they went and got a good pitcher, even though instead of making him a rental, they signed him afterwards because of his relationship with Guillen. And it was the first time I said this, wow, that's really neat. They're doing something a little different. But I also remember this. I do remember that Tadahito Iguchi was not on that team. I do remember Kenny Williams getting skewered at Sox Fest because he was planning on making Willie Harris second baseman. And I do remember it felt like fan pressure was one of the reasons why Iguchi gets brought in. And if you don't have Tadeo Iguchi batting second with the incredible ability to put the ball wherever he wanted to, he was the perfect second hitter. He's the perfect two guy. He was selfless. He dropped the ball anywhere he needed to drop it. If somebody shifted over, he put it in the open spot. He did all the little things. If you don't have him, you don't get off to the hottest start since 1959, and you don't win that division. He was the big difference maker, and he was a last minute replacement.
Yeah, so that's covered a little bit in the Sox have like a 15-minute thing on their YouTube. It's like the first of the series, and it kind of goes through. Kenny does his whole thing on Przinsky where he calls Hawk and talks about him or whatever, but then he does the thing about Tadahito Iguchi, and there's like he describes a back and forth with him and Jerry Reinsdorf, right? And he's like, "Oh, well, I think I have our second base solution." And Jerry said, "What do the scouts think?" And Kenny's like, "Well, the scouts have never seen him." Like, and Kenny's like talking about how he saw him on video. And Jerry like let him sign this guy.
Yeah, but Kenny acts like he like discovered him, and let's be honest, everybody wanted Iguchi in that offseason. He was the hot name out of Japan.
Well,
it's not like he found a guy in the woods that nobody had ever heard of. He loves to do that thing with Kenny Williams. I'm sorry, nobody loves Kenny Williams more than Kenny Williams.
Oh, dude,
okay?
Even like
the
arrogance in these videos too is just.
I could just, remember when he said the thing right towards the end where he's like, I could just look at a guy and tell he's going to be an all-star. Well, if you could do that, you would have won more. You would have won more titles because you would have been the guy that figured it out that nobody else did. So knock it off, Kenny. Everybody knew Tadahito Iguchi was good. You just had to get your owner to pay for it. It wasn't because you were an amazing scout. You saw something on video that nobody else saw. He was all over. He was in USA Today as like the unsigned guy from Japan who's going to get him. So come on.
Ian, so Iguchi said did you watch the video or no? So Iguchi said that.
No.
So Iguchi said that the reason he chose the White Sox is because they had the coolest uniforms.
Yeah, that I did see.
If you go to that part of the world, that like I've been over there, and like the White Sox logo, you'll see people wearing hats. And on the other side of the Pacific, you'll see it in Japan, you'll see it in Australia. You'll see them they don't even know who that is. They just love the look of that logo. That logo's everywhere. Yeah. I mean, especially one of the funniest places to go to is Sydney, Australia. You go to Sydney, Australia, you're constantly walking up to people going, "Are you a White Sox fan?" And they have no idea what you're talking about, but they're wearing the hat.
And then there's another part in there where he's talking about Bobby Jenks because, so Bobby Jenks was a prospect in the Angels system and had gotten in trouble with drinking and drugs and whatever, right? So the Sox pick him up, and Kenny talks about this famous golf cart ride with Bobby Jenks about how he's going to go to Birmingham and close for 2 months and then he'll be their closer. And God, like as good as it is, it's just a reminder that Kenny tried to do the same exact thing like 15 more times and it like didn't work any of the other time. He's like, he was talking about how he was a fan of the Raiders and Al Davis and he wanted to be the place where guys got a second chance. And you're just like, oh God,
listen,
like
never forget. I know exactly where I was listening on the radio, driving up Kedzie Avenue at about 91st Street. And I'm listening to a radio report that the White Sox have acquired Ken Griffey Jr. Okay? And then Ken Griffey Jr. refused the trade. And Kenny Williams was trading Aaron Rowan away. And this is before the Don't Stop Believin' thing. Now, you went 11-1 through the postseason, and this guy almost screwed it up. I mean, I don't know. You could say, well, he was bringing in Ken Griffey Jr. Well, he was, but he was going to definitely change the chemistry in that locker room for a team that went on to go 11-1 through the postseason and win a World Series. There were a few moments there where Kenny Williams' dumb luck got him to a World Series championship. I will give him all the credit in the world. He was the GM of it. But when he gets up there and acts like everything was what he planned, no, it was not. There was luck. There was the bounce of the ball. I mean, he lost Frank Thomas in the beginning of the season. If you look at it, John Garland has his greatest season ever. Jose Contreras has his greatest season ever. I mean, most of these guys have the greatest season they have on their baseball card in 2005. And that's what Kenny Williams used to do, right? As long as there's no injuries and everybody performs at the high end of their expectations, we're going to win. And it just happened one time, and it gave us a World Series.
It probably doesn't change anything with 05, but there's a really good Red Sox documentary. Ian, you and I talked about this on Netflix, and it's like about the year Theo took over and they won the title in 2004. And Kenny had the deal done to trade Mags and Brandon McCarthy for Nomar Garcia Parra at that trade deadline the year before. in 2004 because he knew that Mags wasn't coming back. I don't know that changes anything though, because you're probably
It
not
might.
signing Garciaparra, right? So
Well,
like it
I don't know.
doesn't.
Well, that's the thing. Like, imagine Garcia Parra was a good hitter, but he didn't play the defense that Juan Uribe played. And Juan Uribe's defense was the deciding factor in so many big moments there in that playoff run. Okay, forget Derek Jeter going into the stands. The Uribe one, he went backwards. Jeter didn't do that.
Oh,
Everybody always talks about the
Jeter
Jeter
play
going
where
into
he
the stands.
ran into
Yeah,
the stands on purpose.
yeah.
Yes.
I mean, like Juan Uribe. I mean, even the last out, that's a slow chop over the head of Jenks. I thought there was no way. What a cannon from short to make that play. He had to perfectly field that ball. And remember, if he doesn't get him, I guarantee the guy standing on second base rounds third and scores, and it's a tie game.
Yeah, I saw somebody actually playing that Jeter play on somebody had like retweeted it for whatever reason yesterday, and I was just watching it, and like he catches the ball at like the foul line, and then he sprints towards the seats, and then when he jumps in, you just see his his spikes just go flying at these people's faces right behind right behind where he landed. I was like,
He was
just
doing
like,
that. He was doing that for the ladies. That's what
yeah,
Derek was
something.
doing. Yeah.
I mean, hey, you know what? He did all right for himself, so I'm not going to slag him on that.
Oh,
but
he did a great job. Yeah.
It's a better. No, he had his off field career is better than his playing career is.
Yeah. But I mean, it's how he carried himself on the field that probably got him to that caliber. And he's not bad on the ice. Let's be honest.
So James, do you want to lead him to the
I'll have him. I'm going to have him do the stories last, I think. So just something I've always thought, like, and you actually brought it up, Chris, where you talked about, and I remember this, like you take a 1-0 lead and you pitch your ass off and then you win a game, right? But pitching and 200 homers. Like everybody always talks about, like, oh, they played small ball. Like, yeah, they did when they like needed to sometimes, but 200 homers helps. Like it really, really does.
Yeah, there was an aspect where they played small ball, but it's really because Scott Podsednik could steal bases and Tadahito Oguchi was good at moving runners over. And so at the top of your lineup, you had small ball, even though Oguchi could take it out, right? Like he could hit a home run. But you were playing some strategic baseball. But Paul Konerko's hitting bombs. Jermaine Dye's hitting bombs. You've got guys that are hitting home runs. Carl Everett doesn't believe in dinosaurs, hits bombs. Like that's what's going on there. They're hitting home runs. Juan Uribe's hitting them, and he's throwing his hands out like in the jazz hands when he's doing it. Like they hit home runs, that team. And so yes, there were aspects of the game that were very smart, but the idea that all they were doing, that's incorrect. They did play the game smartly, and what really ruins them a couple years later is the belief that it was all small ball. When they go with Darren Erstad, and now we're going to go with these crazy lineups, and everybody's God. I remember that one game. What was it? 07, maybe it was 07 when they had Erstad on the team and that really annoying guy that used to play for the A's that was on the team for a little bit. I can't remember his name, but he was really annoying and obnoxious, and everybody's like pointing to each other on the bases like, you're running, I'm running. Nick Swisher, you're running, I'm running. Like they're all like really demonstrative, and they sucked, but they acted like they were really good. Like, that was the problem. The team started to believe it was small ball. I don't know if it was small ball. Was there grinder rules? Like, did some of the grinder rules kind of apply? Aaron Rowan ran into the wall. Pacetic took the extra base. They really were a good fundamental team. But you got to hit home runs, too. And that's the thing. They had really good pitching. They played good fundamental baseball for the most part, even though Rowan, even in the postseason, was a terrible base runner. But they got home runs. And you can't act like it was all small ball, because it definitely wasn't.
Absolutely not. I mean, having the best pitching staff,
it was so
hitting
good.
home runs.
They were so that pitching staff was so good. El Duque was the 5th starter. Like, I mean, think about that. And he was really a good pitcher. Like, I was not afraid when he came walking in against Boston. Like, I actually felt like we had a chance because he was so good at the time. Like, if anything was going to beat Boston, it was going to be a former Yankee that owned Boston. Like, they had, like, just those little X factors. I mean, that's why 06 didn't work out. 06 doesn't work out because you get rid of guys like that. I remember Carl Everett saying it, like, you're getting rid of the little guys. You're getting rid of the guys that make the little differences in your team. And that's what they were doing. They were like, okay, well, what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of Aaron Rowe. We're going to bring in Jim Thome. Okay, well, you got rid of the guy that'll kill himself in the outfield. Okay, we're going to get rid of El Duque. We're going to bring in Javier Vasquez. All right, you got rid of the guy that knew that the Yankees were a cocky team, read them, and were able to get out of that situation. Look how close you got to getting back to the postseason. Just a couple of games difference. And it's just changing the personality and tinkering too much. If Kenny Williams wants to take credit for 05, he also has to be asked, why did you screw up something that could have lasted for years in 06 and beyond?
Well, the pitching just died. I mean, they won 90 games in 06 and didn't make the remember that team at the All-Star break? How good we all felt?
Oh,
my
man.
God. They got 7 All-Stars with Ozzie managing. Like, you got Jim Thome hitting bombs. Like, it was crazy, like just crazy.
Do you find it funny that most White Sox, there's like a section of White Sox fans that think he was on the World Series team? Have you ever noticed that? There are people who actually will say that. I get that on my show.
Thome?
Well, Thome won us a World Series. I'm like, he wasn't on the team. It's a weird like Mandela effect thing where like people think he was on the team.
Dude,
but he wasn't.
you guys know, like I grew up in the 90s, obviously. Like that was tough for me, man. Like, he's a Cleveland Indian. Like, he's still, and he works for the White Sox now. He's good. Jim Thome from Peoria. I'm like, that dude is a Cleveland Indian.
He's a Cleveland Indian. That's exactly what he was. I will always look at him that way. I mean, look, it was fun to watch him break like records, right? Hit that 500th home run, but I would have rather watched Frank Thomas do it in a White Sox uniform. And it's nothing against Jim Thome, but I mean, there's a Frank Thomas picture on my wall down here in the bar. There's not a Jim Thome one, okay? Because Frank Thomas is my guy.
Yeah. I mean, Jim Thome's such a solid guy, and
I wish he was a
great
worse
guy.
I really do.
He's a great guy. It's nothing against him, but I mean, like, I would have rather have seen them stick with Frank Thomas because guess what? He was pretty effective for the next couple of years. Kenny moved on from him a little too quickly.
Yeah. If Jim Thome was Albert Bell, nobody would think about him the same way that they do now.
No, not at all.
That personality.
That's a great comparison. I love that.
Is there anything else you want to get to here, James?
He wants my story. That's what
I
he
do.
wants.
Yeah. Is there? Do you think there's anything else we need to? I mean, look, this was awesome. I don't know if they're ever going to get back there, so this team deserves to be celebrated. I know. How'd you guys feel down the stretch? I feel like in hindsight I should have been more nervous than I was.
I was nervous
because it got that, and maybe it's because I was 20 years old and stupid and naive,
I was
right?
nervous.
But
I thought they were going to blow it. I really did. The moment that needs to be remembered from 2005 is during the Sox Indians series where Joe Crede hits the big home run. And Hawk loses his mind because I think everybody there lost their mind. I mean, my dad still tells the story about like he had seats like right near home plate, and Creedy's in the on deck circle. And Crede that year, like again, I think he should have been the MVP. It's nothing against Jermaine Dye, but his defense during the World Series and the way he played, not only in the World Series but throughout the playoffs, he was the clutch player. If his back doesn't go bad on him, he had many more great years in front of him. And Joe's on deck. And my dad didn't care. He told me that night he called me up. He goes, I didn't care who was on in front of him. I knew Joe Crede was the guy that was going to win that game for us. He's like, I'm talking to him on the on deck circle, telling him he's the man. I'm like, you're the man, Joe. He's like yelling at him. He's like, you're the man, Joe. You're going to get a chance up there. You're going to hit it. He was just convinced of it because that's what Joe Crede was. You know, I mean, even after like remember the AJ thing with the drop third strike. Okay, Ozuna advances, but you need Crede to hit the ball off the wall to get the run in. He was Mr. Clutch, and he gets that home run. The Indians have moved within one game in a 3-game series, and he hits a walk-off home run, and they never looked back again. I think they lost 15. They lost a 15-game lead over the course of like 2.5 weeks. And Joe Crede hits a walk-off home run, and they never looked back. They went on a run and finished that thing with a week to go. He was the X factor, and that really is the moment. That series. The Tribe came in with the idea that they were going to win that thing. And not only did the Sox beat him in that series behind Crede, but they beat him so badly, they went on such a run that by the time they got to the last series of the year, which was against Cleveland, it was already over. That was what was amazing about it.
Yeah, that 15-game lead that got like whittled down to one game.
And Ozzie was in the paper, and the quote was like, "We stink."
Yeah.
We stinks.
We stinks. Yeah.
We stinks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like that pit in your stomach, as you're just sitting here watching that lead just go down and down and down, and they're just, they look
It felt
dead
so
out
White
there.
Sox. It felt so White Sox.
Some help
Yeah.
from Grady Sizemore too, right? Like
We got so much help from everybody.
didn't he have he dropped the ball in center? I remember
They should have sent a ring to Tony Graffinino after he let that ball through his.
Tony Graffinino. Poor Tony Graffinino.
Poor ex-White Sox Tony Graffinino. I feel like he was playing for us that night.
Remember how upset Chris Berman was about
that? No!
Yeah, he's so upset.
We got to get out of this. He kept saying that on television. We got to get out of this. We got to get out of this. Like, he couldn't believe his team was going to lose to the White Sox.
So annoying.
So Chris, on your wonderful show that you host, you told a story about when the White Sox won the pennant that year. Yeah, look, I know you got 30 minutes to fill. You don't have to tell the whole thing, but it's pretty good.
Oh well, so my dad, when my mom and dad got married in 1976, he kept a bottle of champagne, and the entire time we grew up as kids, this bottle of champagne sat in the back of the fridge, like on the second shelf. And he would always tell us, he's like, if the White Sox ever win the pennant, we're going to open that. Not the World Series, because no White Sox fan would believe they would ever win the World Series. Just the pennant. If we ever win the pennant. So as kids, my sister, who's 2 years younger than me, and myself, we were just like, we knew that bottle was back there. Didn't matter how many groceries were in the fridge. In the back was the bottle of champagne. And he even moved at one point, and then just went to the next fridge. Like, that was what was funny about it, okay? So here we are. It's 2005. They're getting ready to play the game that they end up winning the pennant. It's a game 5. And we go over to his house. And I didn't watch every game with him because sometimes I was in different places. But I was going because I was like, we're going to win tonight and we're going to open the champagne. Like, my sister and I were all excited. We talked about this like crazy. We're going to open the champagne. It's going to be great. He's really excited. He took it out of the fridge and put it on the table. Like we were preparing for this. So my wife is pregnant. My ex-wife. Let's make that distinction. She was my wife then. She's my ex-wife now. And there's a reason for it. And you're going to hear it in the story. So she's pregnant with my first, and she's almost at 8 months. She has her on November 19th. So she's nowhere close at this point to having this baby. And about the 4th or 5th inning, suddenly she's telling me she's got labor pains. And everybody's looking at her going, what? What are you? You're fine. There's no reason for it. But she was always an attention seeker. Like, she didn't like she wasn't a baseball fan, and nobody was paying attention to her. So she's insisting she has to go. And everybody, like my sister, my father, everybody's like, what? And eventually my mother's like, okay, well, what if she does have the baby? Like, we're having a discussion. What if she does have the baby? Then we're all going to look like jerks. Just take her to the hospital. And I'm so disgusted. I get in the car. I'm in Mount Green when I'm driving to Christ Hospital in Oak Lawn. And I don't think I stop at any red lights. I just blow them. Because nobody's in the streets at that point because they're all watching the game. And I want to get to a TV. So I'm like, you know what? We're an ambulance. I'm just driving along with my blinkers on. I'm just blowing lights. So I get there and I drop her off at the ER. And I'm like, go on inside. Like, she's pregnant saying she has labor pains. I just dropped her. Like, I was like, get out of the car. Go inside. Start registering because I got to see this game. And I go park the car and I come walking in. I walk in, she's in a wheelchair, and they're getting ready to bring her up to the maternity ward. And I hear her say, like, we got to find a room with a TV or this baby's going to grow up without a father because he's going to leave me. So now we go up. And as we get up to the top of the elevator and we come off on the maternity ward, there's a waiting room with a TV. And this is the moment where A.J. Pierzynski goes up the line and knocks the ball out of their relief pitcher's hands. And I just leave her in the hallway. Like, I'm supposed to be the one that pushes her. I just let go. And I run into the room, and I'm talking with these guys. I'm like, okay, what happened? And they're showing the replay. I'm like, that's totally legal. Like, we're all like, it's a great play. And so now all of a sudden I go back. The nurses look at me like I'm a piece of garbage. But I'm like, she's not having this baby. Like, she hasn't had a labor pain since we got there. So this is clearly bull. She just needed somebody to pay attention to her. Okay, I can't believe I went 19 years with this woman. I'm so glad I'm out of this. So anyway, I get to the room, and I wheel her in, and they get her into the bed, okay? And there's a TV, and I turn on the game. And a nurse comes walking in and goes, "You're watching the game?" And I go, "Yeah." She goes, "They told us we couldn't watch the game, but we can't stop other people from watching it, and you're the only person on the floor that has the game on." And I go, "Yeah, because nobody else would be stupid enough to come here during this. But I got dragged here by this one who claims she's having a baby, and I know she's not having a baby." So they're like, "Okay, well, do you mind if we come in towards the end if they win it?" I'm like, "No, come on in." So the end, when the White Sox win the pennant, she's in stirrups, getting an examination by a guy with an accent that suggested he's never seen a baseball game in his life. And he doesn't know what we're doing. He's like, why is everybody so excited? Meanwhile, it's me, 3 nurses, and a janitor with a mop and a bucket watching the final out and hugging each other in the room, jumping around and dancing. And that to me, it was like a Friends episode with a horrible person that I was married to. But otherwise, it was like a Friends episode. Me celebrating with strangers. I didn't get the pink champagne, but turns out it stained everybody's jerseys. So I actually am glad I didn't ruin a jersey out of the whole thing. Like it was flat and it had been around since 1976 and it was no good anymore. But yeah, that was my moment there for the ALCS, celebrating in a hospital with a bunch of strangers for a woman that was not going to have a baby. We were back home like 15 minutes later. And we had the child later, and then we had 2 more, and then eventually she was out. We got rid of her. It took a while. Took a while to get rid of her, James and Ian. Took a while, but she's out.
Do you think about it every time you pass by Christ Hospital?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I do.
Yep.
I do. Listen, that is, I mean, like seriously, when you're going to look back at your life, like imagine you're Al Brooks and defending your life. They're going to play that moment for me. Like if I go to heaven and like they play the videotape of the different things that happen, that's one of the moments right there. Is that moment, and they're going to be like, well, you were right, but were you wrong to be angry with her? And I'm like, no, I wasn't wrong at all. This is ridiculous. We had a bottle of champagne in the fridge since 1976. And she knew it because it was sitting on the table, and she denied me that moment.
Yeah.
But in the end, it added to another story. I just taught a podcasting class. I'm teaching a podcasting class at Moraine Valley, and I was trying to tell them this week, we were talking about adding some embarrassing or crazy or weird or things that bother you into it. Show your personality to connect with the audience is what I was trying to teach them. I was playing them examples. And I actually told them, I said, I don't know if any of you have heard of AJR, but my daughter loves them. Okay, and I heard this one song, 100 bad days makes 100 good stories, 100 good stories makes me interesting at parties. That I was so annoyed that night, but that's a great story.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I don't have anything like that. That's
I got angels. I got angels meeting me at the train station. I got celebrating. I mean, like we had some good times. I went to a baseball game with the Pope. Now it sounds like because I was at game 1, so that's pretty exciting as well.
Yeah, I've seen a hat that's got a Pope on it. Some
I met the
company.
I met the guy the other day who gave him the tickets. Most random thing in the world. I was out the other day. I met a guy who was able to show me pictures from that night on his phone with him as a kid. He's not in the shot, but he has pictures sitting there, and it was his dad who brought the Pope to the game. So, I mean, which I thought was really, really cool. So there's
Never thought you'd say that, huh?
Yeah.
Listen,
The Pope.
Listen, the craziest thing I've ever said in my entire life is the Pope is from Dalton, and he's a White Sox fan. Like that.
So weird.
It is
It's
nuts.
insane to me. And I'm trying to get him on the show. It is really a race to see who gets the Pope first.
Don't you
really
don't you love how the instincts kick in though when people like do the White Sox thing and he can't help himself?
Oh yeah.
Because it's just like it's like you're walking in.
I think he's the
other
first
states
Pope
and-
to ever. He's the first Pope I think to ever wear a baseball hat, and he went
Yeah.
out in public for his public appearance with a Sox hat on, which I think is amazing. Like that's so cool. And I here's the funny thing: he teaches at St. Rita from time to time, and my parents have been to a mass with the Pope.
Yeah.
Because they've gone on pilgrimages. I think I told the story about it on the show. They went to Rome last year, and they went to the Vatican, and one of his best friends, who's also a Jesuit priest, is Father Tom McCarthy out of St. Rita. Each other forever, and that's if I get him on the show, it's going to be through that guy. Okay, and the family's known him forever. I want to say he married my sister and my brother-in-law. So I mean, like I'm trying here, and Father Tom brings them to the Vatican. They go in like a special door and they just meet with him because he's high up in the Vatican at the time. They're hanging out with him, and after he's done doing this mass with all of them, in the actual like catacombs where all the dead popes are, like they did a mass where all the former popes are all buried underneath the Vatican. He then goes, "Where are you guys going next?" and they go, oh, we're going to this town and this town and this town. The next 3 places they went to, the current pope, who wasn't the pope at the time, had called ahead. And after the mass was done, it was all you could drink, all you can eat on him. And he had it waiting for all of them. That's a Chicago Southside guy right there. He's like, you're from Chicago? One hand washes the other, baby. The Pope was like, I got you.
I got you. It's taken care of. Yeah. He's definitely been in the Sox booth with that farmer. 100%.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, I think it's a really cool story. I do find it funny how the White Sox are kind of leaning into it.
Oh yeah.
I think they have a mural that's there right now. Jerry doesn't miss a trick.
Nope.
Jerry's going to get anybody that wants to do a pilgrimage to see where the Pope has been to buy a ticket now so they can go see the seat that he used to be in. I think I heard that there was a plaque on the seat that he was on, which is hysterical to me.
I still think the best part is the Cubs claiming him prematurely.
Oh, that was so funny. And then the brother was like, "He's not a Cub fan." Like that was the best part about the entire thing. Is the Cubs fans were just sure if he's from Chicago, he must be a Cubs fan, and he wasn't. I love the whole thing. It's God's team. Like think about it. Since he's become Pope, even though it's going to take 40 years or whatever this silly agreement is, eventually there's a new owner. Like God works in mysterious ways. My mother tells me that all the time, James. Okay. She also tells me to get to church more often, not just on Sundays. She wants me there Monday through Friday, morning mass. I don't go yet, but eventually maybe. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Well, your story, you're justified. It's a Jerry Reinsdorf team, and they won a title. Like
I know.
You have 3 children.
I know.
They have 1 title. Like
right.
It's fine. Like
so here's the funny thing. Within like a 4-week period, I call off of work twice in the middle of the night. I call off of work when they win the World Series, and I call off of work when I have my first child ever. And my boss told me, he goes, "You were crying when they won the World Series. You were like, you just gave a regular message when you had your first kid." You're like, "They won the World Series. Oh my gosh, I won't be into work tomorrow." And when it was my daughter, it was like, "Hey, we had the baby. I'm going to take a couple days off and be into work. Bye." Completely different reaction. But she's in here. There's actually, I can't show it. I can't move the camera. But there's a picture back here of her as an infant. And I just took this hat, put it right over her head. So, but I always tell them now that she's 19 years old. She's never seen a world championship. That's a shame. She hasn't seen a playoff win. She hasn't seen a playoff series victory yet. The greatest moment of her lifetime in White Sox history is either winning game 163 or Leori Garcia's home run. It's one or the other, and that's sad.
That was fun that night though. I remember
that was
Ian. So that night, me and Chris met at. It was me and my wife, and we went over and we talked to Chris over at. Where are we? At the Cork, I think, pregame. And me and
Cork
Chris,
Gary at the Park, proud sponsor
and
of Sox in the basement.
Yeah. And me and Chris were complaining that Leori Garcia was playing that night.
Here's the thing, though.
And then he hits the
Fair
3-run.
enough.
And then he hits the 3-run bomb in the game.
I think they still win the game if he's not in the lineup.
Yeah,
like that's the thing. Yeah. Like I mean, when he hit the home run, my sister was laughing. Like even Leori Garcia can hit a home run off of these guys. Like she actually convinced. We had 3 nuns sitting in our section in the 300 level where we had tickets in nun habits, and my sister convinced them to start doing the FL Tuve thing, and we had 3 nuns chanting it with the rest of the crowd. Which I felt was, I mean, we might go to hell for that. But now we got the Pope, so maybe it'll be excused.
Yeah, I wonder if they knew each other. It's entirely possible. Well, it's about time here.
I remember when James was like, "This is going to be a 40-minute show. Is it hour?" I talk too much.
It's 58 minutes and 54 seconds. We are butting right up against that 1 hour time. Thank you so much for your time, Chris. Thanks for, thanks for the stories for sure. Glad I heard that.
Thanks for having me on. I mean, you guys are part of the network, so it's great to be on finally.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to let people know? I mean, they already know probably because that's just the way things work. But you want to tell everybody where they can find you?
Sox in the Basement is found anywhere podcasts can be found, and always at soxinthebasement.com. And lately, I would say 90% of the time there's video on YouTube. But when I have a busy day, I just don't do it because I'm a radio guy, and I don't understand this video thing, and I don't know why you need to see me talk. Just listen to it. I like to paint the picture. You know what my goal in life is to just be like a single A play-by-play guy, like when I'm 60 years old. Like that's all I want to do. I just want to be in some like tiny little town and just paint a picture of what's going on to the 12 people that are listening in like, some tiny little town in the middle of America. I would absolutely love that. But Sox in the Basement's there, and all the other podcasts, you can link up with them through broadcastbasement.com.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Chris. My name is Ian Eskridge. He is James Fox. Thanks for hanging out and listening to the Future Sox podcast, and we will catch up with you guys next time. Thank you. Have a good night.